in the summertime, in the evening, Dad used to sit down on the steps, you know, to get fresh air. Sat on the steps. And Alf was a little boy, and he played outside. And every time he stepped on the grass, the owner would look out the window and he'd come down and I don't want him on the grass, you know. And Dad sat and he'd say, well, don't go on the grass. Well, how much can you play on just the sidewalk? So anyway, while Dad used to sit there, there was a synagogue at the end of the street on Salter and Boyd. And there was this elderly Jewish man. He would go to synagogue every night, so he would pass our house, and then when he came back, he'd pass our house again. And Dad struck up a friendship with this elderly man. And this elderly man was not a real estate agent, but he used to sell houses. You know, if somebody wanted a house, he'd walk around the streets and find a house, and he'd say, you know, so, oh yes, and then when this man came back, they would both sit on the steps and they would talk. And one evening, this man was sitting there and they were talking, and Alf went on the grass, and this guy was looking out the window, and he came down and he said, he was on the grass again. So this old man's name was Mr. Braender, but Mr. Braender, my dad got very fond of him, and they used to talk about everything. You know, they used to converse all evening. And Mr. Braender said to my dad, what's that crazy guy up there? Why doesn't he want that child on the grass? Where's the child supposed to, where is he supposed to play? So he said to my dad, you need to buy your own house. My dad said, I would love to, but I haven't got the money. Well, how much money have you got? So my dad says, well, we've got $200. So Mr. Braender, it's all right, I'll find you a house. So he would go looking, and he would come back every night faithfully and talk to Dad. And he said, what kind of a house would you like? And Dad said, well, my wife wants something. She doesn't want a big two-story house, but she would like something that's got a bathroom downstairs and a bedroom downstairs and maybe a couple of bedrooms upstairs. He said, don't buy anything south of Mountain, because that's, in years to come, it's not going to be a good area. See, he knew that. He says, but north of Mountain and further, that's why that man ran around looking at all kinds of houses. He ran up and down the streets till he found it. I says, he was so excited, and he came and said, I got exactly what you want, exactly. Dad says, my dad didn't think that this guy would pull it off, you know. And he said, they want $2,500 for this house. And he says, but it's a good house, and it's just what you want. It's got a bedroom downstairs, it's got a bathroom downstairs, and it's got 2 bedrooms upstairs. And of course my dad got all excited, and he says, yeah, what about the down payment? And he says, oh, I'll work it out. And you know, houses were hard to sell at that time because people had no money. So anyway, he went in and he said, got a customer for your house. And they went there, and of course, they loved it at first sight. So anyway, he had told my dad, if he finds them a house, he would charge them $200 commission, which was a good price at that time. So anyway, he talks to these people, and they wanted $500 down payment, and the rest, on payments. And Braender said, well, no, they've only got $400. So, being the businessman, he said to them, okay, take it or leave it. If you decide you want the $400 down, let me know. I'll come around next week. So he came to my parents and he said, oh, they want $500 down. And Dad says, yes, but we only have $200. So he said, Braender said, well, I'm going to give you the $200 that is coming to me. I'm going to put that down so you'll have $400. He said, I told them, take it or leave it. But he says, I'm going back next week to see if they've decided. And of course, they didn't have another customer in that time, and they had to sell because the man wasn't well and blah, blah, blah. So Dad says, well, no, go back now. And he says, no. We got to give them a little rope. So he didn't go back till the day he said he would come back. So he very casually went back and he said, well, have you decided? And so they said, yes, they had decided. So then he comes back and he said, I'm giving you $200, you've got $200, that makes $400, the house is yours. So, and then he went and he negotiated. My dad didn't know about lawyers, about anything, what had to be done. Braender did all this with the help of a lawyer by the name of Mr. Friedman. And he brought Friedman over to the house, and Friedman explained to my dad all the ins and outs, and Braender, of course, too. And so the deal was made. And then Dad said, well, now if we make payments, how much do you want us to pay you back? He said, you know what, make your payments. And if you have $5 over that, you give that to me. And he said, well, when the lawyer was there, what about a paper for you? He said, I know you so well. He says, I don't want a paper. A handshake is enough. So that's what he went on. He let my dad have the $200. They shook hands, and Dad and Mother had their house. They made their payments, and when they had $5 extra, they gave it to him until it was paid off. Now there is a wonderful man, and that was Mr. Braender. And Mother and Dad always loved that house. And Mr. Braender used to come over, and they'd sit in the veranda and they'd talk. Dad said, you know, no other person would have done that for me, for us. Yeah. That's how my parents came to that house.